Every man is born with a fire inside, a strength that can shape the world around him. But most never realize their potential because that fire is quietly stolen, drained by habits they don't even notice. Today, we expose 8 destructive habits that are robbing you of your power and reveal the Stoic lessons that can reclaim it. Before you can lead, conquer, or build, you must first master yourself. Habit 1: scrolling without purpose. The thief of time and focus. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Seneca. There's a war happening inside your mind. And every time you pick up your phone to scroll, without intention, you lose a battle. A 5-minute check becomes 40. A quick dopamine hit becomes a craving. You open an app, and suddenly, your focus, your discipline, your purpose are gone. You didn't give them away. They were stolen while you were distracted. The Stoics knew that time is the most precious currency of life. Seneca wrote about it often, warning that the true tragedy of life isn't that it ends too soon, but that we allow it to slip through our fingers in meaningless pursuits. When you scroll without purpose, you're not resting, you're leaking energy. You're letting your mind become cluttered with cheap noise, shallow images, and comparison traps. You're letting someone else choose what enters your mind, your mood, your belief system. But the Stoics offer a weapon against this: deliberate attention. To live intentionally is to recognize that you are the gatekeeper of your own mind, that every moment spent absorbing distraction is a moment not building clarity, not sharpening virtue, not crafting your future. So ask yourself, is this helping me become who I want to be? Or is it just keeping me numb? Replace the scroll with reflection. Use that time for journaling, silence, walking, or simply being present with your breath. You don't need more apps. You need more awareness. Because the man who cannot control his attention will never control his destiny. Habit 2: overthinking every decision. The paralyzer of action. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Epictetus. There's a hidden form of fear that disguises itself as wisdom. It whispers to you, just think a little longer. Just gather more information. Just wait for the right time. But that voice is not your ally. It's your prison guard. This is the trap of overthinking, and it drains you more subtly than anything else because it feels like progress. But the Stoics saw through this illusion. Epictetus didn't teach us to dwell on every outcome. He taught us to act in accordance with virtue, to live in alignment with reason, not to be paralyzed by it. Every moment spent debating a decision past its usefulness is a moment you lose to inaction. Overthinking keeps you trapped in a mental maze, where every turn leads to more uncertainty, not less. You become consumed with potential outcomes that may never come to pass. And in trying to avoid mistakes, you make the greatest one. You do nothing. The Stoic remedy is not recklessness, but deliberate movement. They believe that clarity is earned, not through thought alone, but through action guided by principles. You take a step forward, you observe, you adapt. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a clear mind and a willing spirit. So here's what you must practice. Set a time limit for every major decision. Make it a boundary. When the time is up, you act, no matter how uncertain you feel. Why? Because courage isn't the absence of doubt, it's action in spite of it. And when you choose movement over hesitation, something profound happens. You reclaim your power. You become a man of execution, not just ideas. Because in the eyes of the Stoics, it's not what you know that defines you, it's what you do. Habit 3. Needing constant approval. The quiet death of self-respect. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is, poor. Seneca. There's a man who walks through life always looking sideways, measuring his worth by the eyes of others. He may appear confident, successful, even admired, but inside he's fragile, restless, dependent, because his self-respect was traded for something cheaper, approval. And that trade-off is one of the most dangerous. You don't notice it at first. You just want to be accepted. So you smooth your edges, hide your opinions, stay quiet when something doesn't feel right. You laugh when others laugh, even if it doesn't feel true. You say yes when you mean no. Why? Because approval feels good, but slowly, your sense of self begins to erode. And one day, you realize you no longer know who you are without someone else's applause. The Stoics saw this as a form of self-betrayal. Epictetus taught that freedom begins the moment we stop needing others to validate us. Because opinions, no matter how loud, how flattering, or how cruel, are outside your control. To anchor your life to them is to build a home on shifting sand. Instead, the Stoic path is one of inner alignment. Act not for recognition, but for virtue. Speak not to please, but to honor what is right. Do what must be done, even when no one notices, likes, or approves. Because the man who needs no audience to do the right thing is a man who has reclaimed his soul. And in that silence, where no praise echoes, you'll hear something stronger. Your own conviction. Habit 4. Complaining about everything. The language of the powerless. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Marcus Aurelius. There's a habit that destroys your strength slowly, one sentence at a time. It creeps into your day when things don't go your way. You miss a deadline. Someone cuts you off. The weather ruins your plans. And without thinking, you reach for it, complaining. You tell yourself you're just venting. You think it's harmless. But every complaint is more than just noise. It's a subtle signal to your subconscious. I am not in control. The Stoics believed this was a lie, the most dangerous kind. Because the truth is, you are always in control of something. Your perception, your response, your attitude, your actions. And when you complain, you trade that power for temporary comfort. It feels easier to point outward, to blame, criticize, or dwell on what's wrong. But easier is not stronger. Complaining is a choice. And like all choices, it creates a pattern, a mental loop where you train yourself to expect disappointment, to see the worst, to rehearse powerlessness. Marcus Aurelius faced hardships we can barely imagine, yet his writings show no room for bitterness. Why? Because he knew that what happens around us is never as important as what happens within us. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The Stoic does not whine. He reframes. He asks, what can I control here? What virtue is being tested? How can I respond with strength? And when the instinct to complain rises, he answers it with gratitude. Not because life is perfect, but because he refuses to be ruled by emotion. So the next time you're tempted to speak weakness into the world, pause, hold your tongue, take a breath, and remember this: you are not here to react to life. You are here to meet it, head on, with power, poise, and purpose. Habit 5. Chasing excess and materialism. The illusion of fulfillment. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Epictetus. In the modern world, everything tells you that more is better. More money, more clothes, more gadgets, more status. But here's the paradox. The more you chase, the more you feel empty. This is the silent drain of materialism. The belief that happiness lies just beyond the next purchase. That fulfillment can be bought. That self-worth can be displayed. But the Stoics warned us, desire is a bottomless pit, and he who drinks from it will always thirst. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when desire ends, not because pleasure is evil, but because addiction to pleasure is a form of slavery. And every time you define yourself by what you own, you forget who you are without it. Materialism is not about enjoying beautiful things. It's about being owned by them. You begin to measure your value in symbols. But symbols change, styles fade, markets crash, and when they do, you fall with them. The Stoic path is one of detachment and simplicity, not deprivation, but clarity. You don't reject wealth, you redefine it. Wealth is the ability to walk away from anything that owns you. It's the strength to say, this doesn't define me, my virtue does. So instead of chasing more, sharpen your desires, want less, need less. And in that space, you'll discover something priceless: peace. Habit 6. Avoiding discomfort. The silent killer of growth. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus. There's a soft poison spreading through modern men. It's not found in a bottle or a needle. It's found in the small daily decisions. To stay comfortable, skipping the gym because it's cold, avoiding the difficult conversation because it's awkward, procrastinating on a goal because it's intimidating. Each time it feels harmless, but each time a piece of your edge disappears. The truth. Comfort is not peace, it's decay. And the Stoics saw it for what it was, a trap. Epictetus, a man who was born into slavery and endured immense hardship, didn't long for ease. He longed for virtue, for strength, for clarity, and he knew those only come from one source: discomfort willingly faced. Because discomfort reveals what's real. You don't learn courage by reading about it. You learn it when your legs are shaking, your voice is cracking, and you choose to act anyway. And while the world tells you to go easy on yourself, Stoicism tells you to train your will like a muscle, to lean into resistance, to build anti-fragility, not through recklessness, but through voluntary adversity, cold showers, tough conversations, deep work, discipline. These are not punishments. They're the forge, where the Stoic man is shaped. So when you feel the pull to shrink, to step back, to avoid the edge, recognize the lie for what it is. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's your invitation. Walk toward it, not with arrogance, but with resolve. Because every time you choose discomfort over comfort, you become more of what the world desperately lacks. A man who is capable, calm, unshakable. And that is the rarest kind of power. Habit 7. Dwelling on the past. The chain that holds you back. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Some chains are visible, made of iron and steel. Others are invisible, woven from memory, shame, and regret. And these are often the heaviest of all. You walk through life with your shoulders low, your energy dimmed, not because of your present, but because of the past you refuse to release. The words you said in anger, the failure that still burns, the opportunities you ignored. You replay them like a film stuck on loop, hoping that somehow it might end differently this time. But the past is not a movie, it's a lesson. And unless you learn from it, it will become your prison. The Stoics knew this all too well. Marcus Aurelius lost children, faced betrayal, led through plague and war, and still, he wrote of calm and clarity. Not because his past was painless, but because he refused to be defined by it. To dwell is to anchor your identity to who you were, rather than who you're becoming. It is the rejection of the only power you truly have, the ability to shape this moment, right now, here, where life is actually happening. Forgiveness is not weakness, it's strength. It takes power to look at your darkest moments and say, that was me then, but I decide who I am now. And that decision is Stoicism in action. Not erasing the past, but absorbing it. Not clinging to regret, but rising from it. The man who lets go of the past doesn't forget what happened. He uses it as fuel, and every scar becomes a reminder. Not of pain, but of progress. Because what you carry defines how far you can go. And if your hands are full of regret, there's no room left for your future. Habit 8. Refusing to take responsibility. The final wall between you and power. A man is not hurt so much by what happens as by his opinion of what happens. Seneca. This is the habit that keeps you stuck, no matter how much you learn, dream, or plan. Because as long as you blame others, as long as you wait for conditions to change, you've already given your power away. Refusing to take responsibility feels like protection, but it's actually paralysis. You tell yourself you're unlucky, that people are holding you back, that life is unfair. And maybe you're right, but none of that matters, because it doesn't change what's yours to do. The Stoics didn't sugarcoat reality. They faced hardship, exile, torture, betrayal, yet they never let their circumstances become an excuse. Why? Because they understood the ultimate truth. You are responsible for your response. Always. When something goes wrong, the modern mind points outward. The Stoic mind turns inward, not to blame, but to ask, what can I control here? What can I improve? What lesson am I being given? Blame delays transformation. Responsibility unlocks it. This is the threshold every man must cross if he wants to be free. Because as long as you believe your life is someone else's fault, you will always be waiting for justice, for an apology, for the world to change. But the Stoic man stops waiting. He takes the burden and the glory into his own hands. He doesn't just own his mistakes, he owns his mission. You now know the 8 habits that drain your strength. But knowing is nothing without action. The man who scrolls without purpose, overthinks every move, chases approval, complains, consumes, hides from discomfort, clings to the past, and avoids responsibility. That man cannot lead, he cannot build, and he cannot grow. But the man who sees these habits for what they are, chains and breaks them, becomes unshakable. This is not a philosophy for the bookshelf. It's a blueprint for war, not against the world, but against the weaker version of you that shows up when you're tired, afraid, and unfocused. You don't need more motivation. You need more discipline, more clarity, more courage to act, even when it's uncomfortable. And that begins right now. Break the habits, build the fire, reclaim your power. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to our channel for more Stoic wisdom. See you in the next video.